Hi, my name is Regina, and I'm the Associate Designer at Bloomsbury Children's Books and Walker Books for Young Readers. As a designer, my role is basically to work with and fine-tune all of the elements of the way a book looks. That includes type design for covers, interiors of novels, all of that, picture book covers, and picture book interiors. Researching artists, finding stock photography, and building the final files or mechanicals, as we call them, from which the book will be printed. The tools I use most often are InDesign and Photoshop, and of course the internet to research stock photography. I come into the process of making a book relatively early, about a year before the book is actually supposed to be finished and bound. I work very closely with the editorial staff, especially in the early phases of making a book. They provide me with a design memo and a rough copy of the manuscript where I start to work with their ideas of what the cover should be. And then I take those materials and I read the manuscript and come up with my own interpretation of what the cover should be. And that's probably my favorite part of being a designer in children's books, is I love to read, and being able to read a book before it's a book and transport myself into that world and try and figure out what the essence of the book is and translate that into something visual that's compelling but is also related to the story and is also working with the genre that the book is in and for the age group, and coming up with a type design that pulls it all together. That's probably the most enjoyable part, is getting in right at the beginning. So once we designers have come up with a few ideas and comps for the cover, we have a meeting with the editorial staff and design. We take a look at what we have, and if the editorial staff decides that they like one of our options, they'll pass it on to the sales force. And at that point, it's pretty much out of my hands. The sales force talks to the book buyers and gets feedback from them about whether or not the book looks like it belongs in the genre that it's supposed to be, whether or not the cover image is appealing or whatnot. And then the cover comes back to me with feedback. Either they like it, great, go ahead, or they don't like it and we should show some different options. And that back and forth between design, editorial, and sales can happen a whole bunch of times. And it can be a little bit of a challenge, but that's part of the fun of being a designer, is kind of coming up with all of these new ideas and looking at something from a million different angles to try and solve these visual problems. So picture books, on the other hand, I come in later in the process. The art director starts with the author, the illustrator, and the editor, and goes through a sketch phase, a book dummy phase, which is basically the whole book, but all in sketches. And by the time I come onto the project, the art is more or less finished, and I'm basically taking the art, either if it's digital art, I'll take the files, or I send out the art to be scanned and put it all together in our mechanical, which is the file that the book is going to be printed from, and I set all of the type design. On a typical day, that's basically what I do. I'm taking art from picture books and putting it into mechanicals, setting type for a novel cover, setting the interior of a novel, coming up with ideas for books that are getting ready for the next year's list, drinking lots and lots of coffee, researching images, that sort of thing. So design is an important part of the process, I think, because even though they say that you don't judge a book by its cover, I think that you really do. And our job as designers is to make that cover something that's really going to reach out from the shelves and grab you and make you interested in what could possibly be inside.